question is, how often do you want to flip a house also?
No, that is a nuisance. But see, that is privilege for me, which I'm cognizant to. I can afford to buy a house in 1-2 cities and forget about it and say that in a year I'll spend X amount of months here and there. But for most people, that is not the case. You're making a very binary decision. Should I rent? Should I buy? If I buy an apartment, I'm stuck.
But some people Airbnb it. In not India because it's not as mature a market, but say in Europe or US,
Airbnb
it's a very
is the best
mature
thing to
market.
do.
It's a
I mean,
very
apart
mature
from a
market
hotel.
to stay in it whenever you want or
You
give
mean
it out on
someone who's
rent
bought
whenever you
it
want.
and then Airbnb?
Yeah, I mean, it's a business. Like families, retire, having 6 to 8 Airbnb homes because they're making their money work for them without staying in that
that
apartment.
return on investment really, that they're doing in Bangalore itself.
I think
but it's
nobody
not as
makes
mature.
money from buying a property and renting it. It's still, what, 3% rental?
No, short stay, because it's
residential
short
rental
stay,
yield?
it'll be
4
like...
to 5% max.
Yeah.
But
Between
because
3 to 5.
Airbnb is short stay, it
Yeah.
is slightly more, maybe closer
But
to 8%.
then you don't have occupancy throughout the...
Yeah, but...
Overall, I would say your returns, even if you say a 65 to 70% occupancy, I think the returns would be 8 to 9%, sometimes 10% depending on the market, because it's short-term rental stay. But in long-term rental stay, it's what you said, between 3 to 4%.
But if you were to look at the interest rates and inflation right now, you account for those two, that return is negligible or negative.
India doesn't work.
Yeah, but your underlying value of the asset is appreciated.
But if you make the assumption that real estate will always keep going up in value, which is an assumption I have not made. I feel like...
You see, that's why I'm a dinosaur. I've seen it grow from here, from this thing, to going through the roof. I never imagined. So I said, if I was Rip Van Winkle, I would have just kept this huge tract of land, forgotten about it, gone to sleep, and come back about after 50 years later, and the value would have been exponentially more. There was no need to go all this circus all the time. No need to do salam to anybody.
That's why I said land aggregators make the most money.
The biggest risk there is, if you come back after 50 years, don't know whether your land will be encroached or your property will be occupied by somebody else or there'll be some other claimants. That's a big risk that you take.
So,
and another point I'll make is, I feel like making money can't be that easy.
It's never easy.
Like I know in my industry, I've been sitting in front of a terminal for the last 20 years, every day, no holiday, all of that. When I look at people who made money off holding land and forgetting, like some farmer bought 20 acres on the border of Delhi at some point of time and left it. Or cryptocurrency, people bought something and forgot about it. Today it's worth 10,000 times what it was. I don't know if... That doesn't sit well with me. That's how people have made money in real estate.
it's a risk reward.
In land.
Few.
Not few.
But it's risk reward,
landowners, crazy number of landowners have made incredible amounts of money.
Yeah, but there are also people who have got screwed and encroached.
That's what I'm saying.
So if
Wrong claimants.
Yeah, there are loads of those also, which, that I think we were talking about a stat where some percentage of, all litigations in the court system are land.
Yes.
Right.
Yes,
So,
somebody was telling me that 70 to 80% of all court cases are land related.
Yeah, so it's not, there are many people who are screwed.
It is high risk because like you said, anybody can jump and say, okay, I own a parcel of this land. If you put a fence or a boundary after your property, somebody can come and break that fence or, break the boundary wall. But so I don't think land prices can necessarily go up or should necessarily go up every single year, right? But if you look at it over a long period of time, and if I'll give you a couple of examples, like that what Uncle was saying, when we started Brigade Towers, on Brigade Road, it was 200 rupees a square foot. Today, that same area could be 55,000 rupees a square foot or even, 60,000 rupees a square foot. And that's like a 250 to 300x jump. And if you look at the stock market or the Sensex for the same period, it wouldn't have jumped as much. There's another example since you're in South Bangalore, in JP Nagar 7th phase.
Very close to where I live,
We bought land there at say 50 rupees a square foot. Today it's 10,000 rupees a square foot. So it's still a 200x jump. Whereas the Sensex for the same period was probably say in 2000, 6,000 or so, and today it's say 80,000. So it's just a 13 to 14x. So if you look at it over a long period of time, I don't think land will ever decline in value.